Tonight on ABC, Seinfeld's Jason Alexander guests in a brand new half hour of Muppets Tonight, followed by America's Funniest Home Videos and Lois and Clark. And then, on the Sunday night movie, Mark Helgenberger stars in Where Are My Children? That's all tonight, starting at 7, 6 Central on ABC. So you're on board with Michael Andretti. We're under a full-course caution. The leader of the race, Alex Zanardi, went into the pits during the full-course caution and topped up on fuel. His teammate, Jimmy Vasser, stayed out, so he assumes the lead, followed by Paul Tracy, Andre Ribeiro. Alex Zanardi came back in 4th place. Then DeFerrin, then Herta, Michael Andretti, Adrian Fernandez, Bobby Rahal, and Greg Moore. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Quick word on Paul Tracy. Chuck Sprague and the team say they're committed to a 2-stop race, so they are gambling. The fuel window is still about 11, 12 laps away for Paul Tracy, so he stays out to stay up there with the leader. In the meantime, Parker Johnstone now behind pit wall. Parker, what happened?
Well, Eddie and I were fighting for territory, and he moved left just as I went down the inside, and I got up next to him, and he turned in towards the apex, and it's one of those things that happen racing. I feel sorry for the Gallus Truth and for Eddie, and certainly for all the Bricks contact guys that worked their tails off this weekend, and just one of those things. We just didn't want it to happen today.
This weekend has been a nightmare for this man, Paul.
Well, they spread out and go to the green once again as you take a look at DeFerrin battling with Zanardi. They come across in the order that they actually approached the green flag. No changes. It looked like Zanardi was going to make a move that would really get him well up. He didn't get that done. The leader of the race, Jimmy Vasser, got a clean start with Paul Tracy following him through the corner. So Tracy wasn't able to jump very far forward on that start. Here's Michael Andretti as he works on DeFerrin.
Well, he's all over him. He's got to make a run here. Look at his hands moving. That car's jumping around. But I'm not so sure that Gilles going to go for it there. Those are tough spots to pass in.
Looking back from DeFerrin, Michael Andretti on the charge. Back through turns 9 and 10. This is the main straight. There's the starter stand over to the left. That wide first turn just ahead. Right down on top of the DeFerrin car. The report now, Raul Boisel is out of the race officially as a result of an engine problem when you saw him slow down on the circuit. And the heat and this track can just be so tough on the race cars, especially on the half shafts, the gearbox, the constant velocity joints. Everything takes a beating.
Well, we look at some passing going on there. Look at this DeFerrin upside. That's inside of Zanardi.
And DeFerrin comes around Zanardi. Takes Zanardi as Michael Andretti continues to poke behind him. And take a look at Paul Tracy as he climbs all over the back of Jimmy Vasser. So Chip Ganassi's team involved in 2 big fights right now.
And that car right behind him that just went out of our screen right there was Andre Ribeiro right there. That's 1, 2, 3.
So there's Vasser, there's Tracy, there's Ribeiro, and the battle is back at the front, Jackaroo.
And it's a very good battle. You may wonder why Jimmy Vasser decided to stay out and why this battle is the way it is. Tom Anderson made a call with Jimmy Vasser to try and make this a 2-stop race. They will not pit to lap 29. But during that caution, the tires picked up a lot of debris and rubber. Vasser radioed in that the handling wasn't good under green. Anderson talked him through the last couple of laps. Now Vasser says the car feels a little better.
Well, what happens with that, Jack, is that you get that on there and you got to run some hard laps to get it actually to clean up the tire and throw away that rubber that's been built up on there. And that's why I think we see some of these cars, they took a couple laps to settle down, and now they're going back to the front like DeFerrin again.
And Danny, one of the things that happened is they panicked, the Ganassi team, because they were afraid maybe they had a tire going down. The crew was ready to make a tire change. Quick and very astute thinking on the part of Anderson kept Vasser out there, and they're still shooting for lap 29. But because of the cautions, they may go a little longer.
This is the 5th race that Jimmy Vasser, as we watch him, has led. Every race that he's led so far this year, he's won. Of course, then again, Alex Zanardi started on the pole and took the win last week. As Rivera, and Paul Tracy really loses it.
He got off there. Did you see those big black marks come down from the tires? And look at Rivero's going to go up underneath him.
Andre Rivero comes inside. Paul Tracy takes over second place. Boy, Tracy got way wide, tried to keep a hold of it, laid down some enormous skid marks when he did that. In fact, Rivero was fighting for his life there for a second as well.
And you know what that was? That's wheel spin. That's not just, he's not just sliding. That means he's standing on the gas trying to control that thing and not lose that position. Unfortunately, he did.
So Paul Tracy tries to come back at Rivero, but here again, a comparison of powers. That's the Mercedes-Benz power plant in Paul Tracy's car chasing the Honda. And the Honda still, despite the time that we are in the season, well beyond the halfway point now with 10 races complete, it still is the dominant power, it seems, down the straightaways. Paul Tracy, who got a great start here, was able to jump up into third behind the two Target Ganassi cars, but now has fallen a bit backwards. As we take a look down at Jill DeFerrin from the Honda Helicam. And Jill is closing on Paul Tracy now.
And, of course, that yellow car that we see closing up on Paul Tracy is Jill DeFerrin. I think he's moving up as well. He probably had a little bit of that tire build-up, as a lot of them did, and I don't think Michael. The Andretti's always had that knack that they could go faster right off the bat on cold tires or right after a restart. I don't know what they do with their cars, but I always wanted to know that secret.
Got a glimpse of a car off the course. There it is. That, of course, is P.J. Jones, who had a problem earlier. He's having continuing problems here at the Burke Lakefront Airport today. Now completely stopped and silent off the edge of the course. And there's your race leader, Jimmy Vasser, as he comes through the standing yellow for P.J. Jones's Eagle. And Rivero is now closing the gap, while at the same time, DeFerrin is closing on Tracy. And Vasser is closing on DeFerrin. Gary Gerald?
Well, what has been a very frustrating season for Emerson Fittipaldi, Carl Hogan, Team Penske continues. Emerson setting in the car, True with the body work off, changing the electronic units. We'd heard that might be a potential header problem. Whatever it is, it hasn't been solved. It's cost him a tremendous amount of time thus far. They're trying to fire the engine now to see if there's anything there. It roars into life, but no, Rick Reineman gives it across the throat slice, shut it down. The day's over for M.O.
So Jill DeFerrin continues to work on Paul Tracy. That is, of course, Zanardi just behind DeFerrin. I may have identified him for you as Vasser. Vasser is the leader of the race, and the course workers here have decided they're going to try to get P.J. Jones off the course and into a safe position and avoid going to a full course yellow in doing so.
He's in a pretty safe spot there unless somebody came off and spun it or banged the wall and shot across the track. But they do want that out of harm's way.
Michael Andretti works on Zanardi. You saw him dart out for a second there, take a breath of fresh air, and they are all right together. Herta takes an alternate line into the corner, trying to get around Fernandez.
Boy, that's fabulous. Those are all for positions. I mean, everybody's racing there. Nobody, just like Paul Tracy made a mistake earlier, nobody can make a mistake or they'll drop 2 or 3 spots.
In fact, 10 seconds covers the first 10 cars. So everybody's still right together. And right together now with 30 laps complete. Wrecker moving on the course after trying to deal with the car of P.J. Jones. And that's one of the other advantages of this large airport circuit, is you can maneuver with your support equipment well off the course. The IndyCar safety team is out there as the leader of the pits. Leader turned down into the pit road, and here he is, Jimmy Vasser with second place Ribeiro right behind him, Jackaroo.
And this should mean that this will be a 2-stop race for Jimmy Vasser, your current point leader. Now watch as they make the service. Watch for a mechanic to go to the front wing. What he will try to do is put about a turn and a half of front wing in the car. He does it there. They're getting ready to, he's got it back in gear. Jimmy wants to get back out on the racetrack. You can hear it. 15.5 race to the blend line.
So here comes Jimmy Vasser as he comes out, and there comes Ribeiro. They stay in relative order, the same positions as they came into the pits. Good stops, though, by both teams, and not just one, but two mechanics making the changes on the front end.
Well, that's right. You see the cars wiggling going out there. They've got cold tires on. They're trying to put the power down. He wants to make sure he keeps Ribeiro behind him, but he wants to make sure that he doesn't lose that spot or spin off because of cold tires.
Gil DeFerrin picks up the lead as Paul Tracy peels off for his stop, Gary Gerald.
Remember what happened to them on the mile oval at Nazareth. He came in too hot, selected a crewman, got into the wall. This time he's right on the mark. It's a perfect stop for Paul Tracy. They're hoping that they can execute a no change on the car stop as quickly as Vasser and Ribeiro maybe gain some time. Here he's rolling. 13.9 seconds.
So Paul Tracy, speed limit is 60 miles an hour on pit road. No particular rule on how fast you get to 60 miles an hour, though. Paul Tracy takes every advantage of the power in his car to do just that, and he comes back into the fight. So Gil DeFerrin has picked up the lead, followed now by Alex Zanardi, who, remember, stopped on the 20th lap and is out of sequence with the entire rest of the field. So the assumption is that Zanardi will be able to stay out there and stay out at least through the 50th lap of the race.
But, of course, that gamble only comes into play later on when he has to make another stop. Everybody's made their stop. It will take a while for us to see which pays off.
So there's Gil DeFerrin, who is amazingly able to go yet another lap. Now 33 laps for DeFerrin. The window here is rather narrow, isn't it, for a pit stop?
Well, it's pretty narrow, but the thing is we have so many different measurements of the track because it's an airport, so it depends on where you run on the track, and some guys are more efficient with their throttle than other guys, and so they might be able to run that extra lap.
So Gil DeFerrin should be due in shortly. He'll relinquish the lead to Alex Zanardi, who is now being pursued by Michael Andretti and Brian Herta. Out through the East Loop.
And one other thing, we don't know what mixture setting he's running his car on. They can run it at 100%. That means 100% fuel, 98%, 96, 94. If he's running it a little bit leaner, he's conserving more fuel than somebody's running it richer.
All right, so it is Gil DeFerrin, followed by Alex Zanardi, and then Michael Andretti. There are your top three. 34 laps are complete here at the Cleveland IndyCar Grand Prix.